We are a podcast for product marketers and B2B SaaS who feel misunderstood of what they do.
From someone who truly gets what you do and
basically help you feel less like a misfit, being unignorable in your role. Everyone, to another episode of We're Not Marketers for Season 3. Today we have an amazing guest that we want to present to you. But first, let's just circle back because maybe you didn't take your coffee or you're a bit confused and you're unsure who are your co-hosts today. So Gab Bugeaud, Sales Deck Associate. I got a promotion this season and I'll put it to one of my great co-hosts, Zach.
Hey, this is Zach Roberts here, Sales Waterboy. Pass it over to Eric.
Yeah, Eric Holland here, and I also got a promotion to Franken Manager. So very excited to have that in Season 3. And we have a great guest today, so I'm going to let Gab do the honors.
Thank you. So our guest is from across the pond, so we started to generate more and more of these. He's a very experienced product marketer. He's been in the last company for 6 years, Candid, a unicorn in Switzerland. He's based in Zurich, and he also co-founded an IoT startup in Dublin. So we're very excited to have with us Peter Kortvel. Peter, how are you doing?
Hey, doing great. Thank you so much for the intro. It was a nice intro, energetic. So happy to hear that. And yeah, it's great. It's a pleasure. You're doing awesome work, all of you, on LinkedIn and podcasting. So really happy to be joining. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything I missed? I know we didn't talk about the newsletter. Anything that you want people to know about you before we get started?
We'll get into all the topics.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much explained.
We got a lot.
A product
All
marketing.
right. Yeah. Hooking people from the beginning. Listen to the episode if you want to understand what Peter has to say. Let's go.
Peter, quick question before we kick this off here. Tell me about this background right here. For audience listening, this is like the original OG background I have never seen before. I got to know more about it.
Yeah, so I'll go very quickly. So I started in online marketing.
Your background, your actual background.
Oh, the background.
Yeah.
That's a boring part, but
No, we never do those, actually. We ask for the backgrounds. But
hell no.
Very rarely we have
don't
someone
ever
with a
know about
cooler
your background.
background than my shoes. So yeah, I'm glad Zach asked this question too. What's going on back there?
I love your shoes. Awesome backgrounds. I couldn't do this podcast at home, my home office. So I'm actually in the video place where we organize the video room. And so I just pull this backdrop and then I just thrown out stuff. So I have some books here, some product marketing. We Are Not Marketers, 3 editions of the book. First is we, second no, not, third marketers. There's some sort of a skull here. And cactus, because I never water my flowers. So basically that's my background.
This is awesome.
I feel honored. And I can't wait to read edition 3 of that. The marketer's edition.
Yeah. Second is just things you should not.
Yeah,
do.
we felt very comfortable writing that one. The third version, it's a mess.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yo, I love it. Peter, you're familiar with this segment right here. We're going to pass it over to Gab. He's going to hit you with the $1 million question.
Go for
Peter,
it.
are product marketers actually marketers? Why or why not?
So no, is how I wanted to start this question and answer originally. But then it got me thinking into basically, what are the key differences between marketers and product marketers? And I go to 3 things. So first one is product marketers go really deep into topics. So they go into who you want to talk to, how to talk to them so they get it, who's the target audience, stuff like that. Second is product marketers obviously own a product sort of part of marketing of it. And the third one is I see many people saying often is the product marketers, they don't do the actual promotion work hands-on, but they have basically other people in the marketing who do that. So I was thinking like these 3 differences. I don't know, what do you guys think? Does that ring the bell or did I miss something?
It does ring a bell. Like what sticks out to me, Peter, is like product marketers are like the connector of the dots of like bringing in different teams, different expertise to execute a launch. It's not a one person job. So it's like a lot of like cross like team efforts that come into play.
Yeah.
That's what I gathered.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a big one as well. But then I'm thinking around these, so going really deep into the topic. So isn't this what marketers should do as well? Because how can you write an article? How can you do any sort of promotion, even do an ad without deeply understanding what you're doing? I remember I was like one of the first articles I was writing as a marketer, and I was doing this horrible blog post, and I was writing multiple articles, but at some point I spent the whole week to just research the topic and just write. It was about cycling and Swiss mountains, something like that, and it got just thousands of views through Reddit because I spent all that time on it. So marketers actually should go deep into the topic, same as product marketers, but product marketer is this specific function who is just specifically focused on that, on doing that. Yeah. Another is the product focus. So saying basically what happened with marketing is they have to do so much work and so many like deliverables that they got split into channels, and they have a lot of specificity and understanding of their channels, campaigns, etc. But basically around the product is also some sort of like a topic. So why not split marketers into the topic, into the message that they are giving out? Like you can split marketers into awareness topic, into category topic, into the product topic, the vertical they should understand. And that way marketers and product marketers, all of them are deeply into the topic and they are knowledgeable about that. And then doing the actual promotional work or not, I'd say, how can you as a product marketer even comment on some email that's being sent to clients or any sort of content piece if you cannot hands-on do some of that, or you haven't tried doing that? And if you're in a small company, maybe you don't have this whole army of marketers who can do copywriting, who can set up email campaigns, who can set up all the ads and everything. So maybe there you need to do some of that until the marketing department grows. So I'd say product marketers are marketers based on definition what marketing used to be or should have been originally. But we are very specific marketers. So I see this, we are not marketers, where it's coming from, because marketing moved from what it, in my opinion, like what it should have been, to just go and deliver stuff and not asking questions anymore enough.
That's a great point, and I really feel similar to your point of view in some extent, because if you just go back before like the boom of tech and everything, marketing is alignment around that, right? The sales process is usually gate kept by sales. You cannot search your stuff on the web anymore. People just book demo to have an introduction and stuff like that. But when we have that hyper competitivity, when we have like 18,000 solution in MarTech alone, people are not even talking about communication strategy anymore, which was one of the key pillar of a classic brand marketer. Like, what's the communication strategy for this? It became messaging, because it was about how do we say the strategic things that will put us uniquely positioned across all of the competition that we're trying to go after. So in an ideal world, yes, I think that product marketers should be considered marketers. But the issue is, and we had a chat yesterday about that, the issue is we're much more than marketers, and we need to take that narrative, because if we don't, we're going to be put in a category that people already have apathy towards. And we'll just say marketing are the sales assistant. We ask them to create content, create assets. They just do that. They don't necessarily speak to customers, lead long-term initiatives, and make sure that the organization is well enabled and strategized together. So I think it's a question of environment, trends, and explosion of competition. But when we start putting and talking about those categories, the answer gets a lot more complicated.
Yeah. And then really quick here, Peter, I wanted to take a step back because you said a lot of like really powerful points. I just want to recap it to make sure I'm on the same page with you. I know it's 4:00 on your time right here, but it's 9:30 a.m. in Minnesota. So my mind's still waking up here. So bear with me here for a second, because first you said here, what's really cool is that, hey, like marketers should be aligned across the buyer's journey. Let's think of awareness, evaluation, and decision. another piece you shared here is that as marketers, it's hard for us to write content for our target audience if we are not putting ourselves, i.e., researching from their shoes right there too. And then lastly, are being like, because of whatever forces that are outside of our control, we're being so pushed towards execution. It seems like we're sacrificing a lot of the quality that our audiences need to understand what our product does and why that might be a right fit for them. Are we on the same page with you?
I think you even said it better than me. So yeah, totally. Yeah, it sums it up really well. Yeah.
We're perfect. Like I said, I'm a morning person. That's why I was like, I think that's why I'm picking it up. But I want to make sure I'm on the same page with you. You may be in Switzerland, I'm in Minnesota, but hey, what we got in common? We have brutal winters. So look, we can align on that.
That's true. That's true. But not enough snow in Switzerland sometimes. So
you just actually spurred a new hot take in my mind now. I'm going to deliver for the first time. So we've been talking to some actual like former Gartner researchers. You brought up research. Zach, you just recapped it even better. And really, I heard you enunciate, i.e. research. And what I have just realized is that I don't think marketers, the non-product marketers, I don't think they're expected to do research. Like, I think the expectation of actually doing research falls on the product marketer. And then it's, okay, go enable every other person on your research and make sure that they can create a 50% version of actually doing it themselves. And yeah, that's my hot take, is that product marketers are expected to do research amongst their pile of other activities, never have time for it. But the channel masters of marketing are not expected to do research outside of their channel, right? What's going on with how we deliver things within this channel, not what are my actual receivers.
perfect.
From this. So that's my new hot take. What does everybody think about that?
That's a great take. And I was a marketer, I was doing SEO, and my research was exclusively on that keyword research, making sure I can find the right stuff and always pushing it. But it's about rabbit hole, right? You can always improve, you can always get more traffic, lower cost of acquisition, and all of those metrics, that it become your whole world. And you might miss like that foundational work of research. But then I want to challenge you a little bit on that take. What is research? Like, you talk to someone, they will have a different understanding of how exhaustive it is. Okay, I just need to talk to customers. Yes, but you don't have an objective in mind. If you don't have guardrails, the research won't deliver you actionable insight that you can do something with it. So I feel like, yes, PMMs are the one that should be leading research. Even marketers up to a point, I think we need to see that change in the landscape. But what is considered relevant enough research for it to actually deliver those results and those suboptimal execution of campaigns?
Oh, that's going to vary for sure. But just here's an example, right? You mentioned earlier like a channel marketer who is focused on problem-aware content. Are they going through gong calls and like finding problems being spoken directly out of customers' mouth? Or are they coming to us and having a session and being like, hey, how's the problem? Which, again, I think you're right. We should be the experts. But I think there's just been a natural defaulting to, I don't have to research our customers and our prospective customers. We can just ask product marketing. And then, like you said, what ends up happening is they go down their channel specific research. But I think to me, there's a lot more research that needs to be done and that just I haven't seen get done in my experience. And so that would be one example. I would expect demand gen who's focused on, hey, we don't have enough middle of funnel content. All right, how many calls have you had to figure out what type of content we need to deliver? Mm-hmm. I've never asked that question, but I'm like, I wonder what that answer would be.
Let's take a step back here really quick, because Peter, I'm going to turn this towards you briefly, because when you spoke with us briefly, again, from your experience of starting out in marketing, the ability of like being part of a founding team, leading up marketing, and being a product marketer today at Scandit, a larger organization, it feels like that gives you a few unique POVs to see what are some bad ways of starting a startup from a PMM perspective. Because I feel like research, we're hitting on research, but I feel like we might be missing some things here. So I'm curious to hear your take.
So my favorite topic. So maybe I'm planning to write some newsletter edition around that. But as a product marketer and some marketing experience before, I just sometimes talk to people who are starting a company and they just like straight away see this is the wrong way to do that. I was at a startup event here in Zurich, I guess a month ago or something, and I was asking just people what do they do and usual questions, and it just was weird. Like they're like most of them would have some of the issue that from the start you see this is some wrong way of starting. It doesn't mean it cannot be done, but it means it's the hard way of doing it. And I think when I explain this, I listed them some here. So if I tell you this, you're probably gonna know or like already be able to comment on like why these are. To me, it's self-explanatory, but we can discuss it. So first one I love the most is the marketplace.
It's like a startup focus on the marketplace. And where is this marketplace?
Marketplace, yeah. So do I need to explain it or?
I'm focused on marketplace economics.
Yeah, it's just such a tough way to start a startup because if you want to do a product, you want to do something small, you want to niche down, you want to have one killer feature that just is important. That's the ideal way. It's easy to market, easy to build, easy to sell. But the marketplace, you have supply and demand both at the same time, and they both need to be there at the same time. So if you have supply, let's say you're selling just like clothes on like secondhand clothes or something basic, right? If you have like demand, yeah, let's say you get all the manufacturer or all the people who like selling stuff, yeah, like the demand is not gonna be interested, or they are not gonna be interested to put stuff on your marketplace until there's no demand, and demand is not interested until there's supply. So you need to, it's like chicken and egg thing. You need to do both at the same time. Until this is whole big thing, it's very hard to build it. Yeah, Airbnb is a successful example, but then the startups need to ask: do they want to build something huge, some sort of a huge beast that's very hard to even start doing, or do they want a simple, quick entry to market? Yeah.
That's a good example. And I think even going back to Airbnb, I think Airbnb started off on a city per city basis, right? They didn't launch global. I think they started, hey, let's start in San Francisco. And then
exactly
with Craigslist, right?
What?
I think they piggybacked Craigslist in San Francisco, and then they were able to expand a little bit more and get their MVP or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that piece about being on Craigslist. I kind of sketched out, be like, yo, stay at my Craigslist. I don't know. I'm like,
sketch.
Yeah, Peter, this is going to be a very ignorant question here. I apologize in advance, but Craigslist, is that available in Switzerland?
It's
no,
only
it's just US thing. I just know it from basically being used for like cheap marketing techniques. That's where I first heard about it. But yeah, it's known as a brand, but we don't have it. We have other similar websites.
Okay, i.e. better websites.
I don't think I've never used it, so maybe.
The UI hasn't improved since the mid-90s. We'll just tell you that.
That's great. I think that's great. Why to improve? If it works, then it works. Also, Reddit didn't change much. It's the same. So also Facebook didn't change too much. Facebook is pretty much looks the same to me.
That is, I mean, you're bringing up a lot of fair points. I cannot dispute what you're saying at all. Another thing I want to get your take on too is that how do you feel when people say, I have a stealth startup?
I have what?
A stealth startup.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the mistakes. Obviously, I called it just you keep it hidden, but stealth. I rename it right now stealth startup. So basically, that means it's just on so many levels. So the best thing you can do is to go to the market as soon as you can. This is the whole idea of lean startup, of MVP. So you start getting feedback. So if somebody doesn't want to do that, probably they're building too much. And it can happen to anybody. Yeah. It can happen to really, it's like these mistakes, you're going to do them. If even I've been doing some projects and I've done some of these mistakes myself, because when it's your baby, then you do these mistakes. So it's normal. So that's why for us, it sounds so obvious when we see it, but yeah, of course, you're not gonna want to keep building something and just keep trying and then not start selling it early because you're afraid you're gonna fail with it and you think it needs more and more. So of course it's a natural fear, but it's not a good way. So yeah, stealth.
I'm like, hey, I'm like, steal the idea. If someone stole my idea, I'd be hurt, but I'll be like, I'm flattered. I'm like, like it must have been a great idea.
Yeah, you should sign the NDA first.
Everyone has ideas all the time, but they don't launch, they don't start, right? So someone might not have the best idea you have, but once you go to the market, there's going to be copycats. What matters is your consistency of executing it enough and sticking to it. Which it's making me think, if we take like your background, I think you worked consultant for a couple of years in video making, if I'm not mistaken.
I was literally making videos as a freelancer. That's an interesting part of my life because the startup I was working on, it didn't seem great, but it had really good potential. I had to start making money somehow, and I was like, I'll do marketing and do marketing strategy or tell people how to market their stuff, their products. Nobody wants that. They think they know how this is being done. Since I watched this animated video from Oreo. It was a few years ago. I really liked it. And I was like, I want to do that. So I learned how to do animated videos and literally was myself animating them. And this was almost only for startups. So I would talk to this startup and just find out like, hey, they don't even know what they're selling. They don't even know what they're doing. So that was really weird that they are having a business and they don't know how to explain it, which for me was somehow natural. Also because that was my idea to put it into 1 minute of animated video. So that was interesting. That was the first understanding of how startuppers just cannot explain their startups.
I was gonna ask is like what have been some examples you've seen of bad ways that startups are explaining their product and just get clarity on what might be the right way of approaching it?
Yeah. So it just sounds so simple. So I honestly don't know why people don't do it. It's just explain what you do, explain the what, explain how you get it done. Yeah. And then yes, you can build stuff on top of it. Like you can go and storytell, you can sprinkle some emotion on top of it. But people usually, or startuppers or marketers, often they think of their product as something bigger than it is. I think they often get inspired by some B2C promotional videos and stuff. So really just keep it very simple. Just explain it what it is. So whatever is your way of explaining it, just get your target audience or somebody who's kind of good to user test and explain it to them and see if they understand it. Yeah. And if they don't, just don't move forward with trying to make it bigger than it is, or trying to make the market sound huge, or make it emotional in B2B. That's the last brick of explaining something.
I think that if we take like all of the different skills of PMMs, storytelling is a very strong muscle that we need to develop. And from my very little expertise in that, I saw that video as a really good segue of practicing storytelling, either by just hooking people up, but also keeping it relevant and dynamic. When you started making videos, did that help you develop that storytelling muscle, or was it the opposite? You came with a storytelling angle when you started making videos? I'm just trying to understand what was the driver of which.
To be honest, when making the videos, and I for very long didn't even think of it as storytelling. I always thought of it as explaining, trying to get to explain it, because startups are in tech and software. It's very complicated what they do. So if you just explain what it is, you're just almost there. Yeah. And then storytelling, like nobody talks about one big issue of storytelling, which is that it takes time. So if you have 1 minute and you need to explain what the product does, so people get it, maybe show it working, how much can you spend on storytelling? Yeah. So yes, there are some micro storytelling ways, like mentioning your nemesis, the bad guys,
The
or
villain.
the bad process, right? That's also storytelling. So it's you can I would say, like, you can use some micro storytelling, but aimed. But where you really use storytelling is when you talk to somebody, when you're sales, when you are CEO, then you need to tell the whole story. So I think many people, very often we see like CEOs talk to the investors, they have a story that works, and they expect that story to be translated to some micro content or very short content, or sales talk to prospects and customers, and that they have ways of explaining it to them, because they have half an hour to talk to them. Yeah, they can give them examples, they can tell them the story, they can tell them the founder story if they want, yeah, and get them emotionally connected during that time. But if you don't have time, then you need to be careful with how much time you can spend on storytelling versus just so people get it what it is.
What do you feel is one common piece or stage that's being missed in storytelling in B2B? Like, I have my opinion on it, but I want to open it up here.
A piece that's missed in storytelling. I
Like,
don't know if I can answer that. Maybe I'd
okay.
like to hear your answer.
Yeah, I'm going to give you context here. So like, I was in sales for 5 years before I moved into product marketing. And I think there's two things. One is that there's this assumption that our audience knows what they have is a problem. So we will explain a situation. Like, for instance, let's say like cold calling is dead. You're like, okay, that's a situation. So what? But the piece that I feel like has been really mistakes of like communication. Like, how is this situation like impacting your way of life, and kind of bringing that point home? I think like one example we can share here as a group is that when we launched this podcast, we're like, product marketers aren't marketers, and that was a situation. Like, it's a situation being that, like, so what if product marketers aren't marketers? The problem, that complication, the stakes we were raising is that the problem is that people don't give a shit about what you do, despite it being valuable to the organization from your standpoint. Because I see where you're coming from, but I've noticed that's been a kind of a problem I've been seeing today in how we approach storytelling in B2B.
So what you're saying is it's easy to, or like, you explain them the problem, they get the problem, but then so what? How does that problem impact you?
Yes.
And then but then you explain when it impacts them, and that still doesn't help, or
It goes back to what you said earlier, Peter. It's like going back to that research piece. Is that I feel like what I've seen, like, for instance, let's say I'm selling like accounting software and I'm saying AI powered software. I'm like you want to use our AI powered software is because accountants have to spend a lot of time entering and inputting data into spreadsheets. That's a problem. But what if an accountant came to them and I don't care about that. That's what I get paid to do. If I'm being paid hourly to just put in like the numbers in a spreadsheet, that's fine. But I think there's sometimes, going back to that piece you said it before, is as marketers, and I'm just saying marketers in general. I don't want to call out any marketers. I'm just saying as marketers in general, we make this assumption of like how people's way of life is a problem without really sitting down to understand, is this a problem for you? Yes or no?
Perfect. I think that's really interesting. I have something to add on top of that. Is when I think of any product or anything to market, then I'm thinking, is it a known problem or is it a new problem? Because if you don't ask this question at the very start, then it just causes immense confusion. Because, like, for example, like, I've seen videos where they are explaining the problem at the start of the video or start of the website or anything, but the problem is obvious. So you're losing that time. For example, I want a task management tool, so you don't have to explain to me that I'm sitting too long in front of the computer if I don't have a task management tool. So first is, do they already know they have the problem, or they don't know they have the problem? If they know they have the problem, or you suppose they mostly know it, then just skip that. Don't explain the problem. Maybe just hint it, or just say it in one word or one sentence or something, and go to the next part of explaining or storytelling. If they don't know they have a problem, then maybe you have the problem, because why would would they buy it, right? Why would they want to buy it? So that's then this is then maybe the product manager's problem already, that they are building something that people don't know they have the problem. Yeah. And if you ever are in a startup ideas conversation in a bar with other startup people or with anybody, hey, let's build this thing, and you look at the menu and you say, does all of that online for us, or some. So like all of these startup ideas, the obvious ones, or often they come with, hey, let's solve a new problem in a new way. But that's just the slowest way to sell something. So if you can go after the existing problem, everything's going to be easier. You can make it bigger later if you want. Yeah. And if the problem is not they don't know they have a problem, then that's the whole like big topic. Then how to explain it to them, what resonates. It's not as simple as just say the first obvious problem, but okay, the accountants, they need a tool to save their time. They clearly don't care about saving time or they don't, I don't know. They probably do, but if they don't, then there must be some specific feature they need, or something that their boss is asking from you. And now you're getting to the product marketing thinking of what is the real value that really resonates. And yeah.
So I'm going to recap this really quick here too, because I think what I'm getting to what you're saying here is that if we don't know the problem, let's educate on the problem. But if we know the problem and let's educate on the solution, i.e., what are the requirements that people should be thinking about to solving that? Am I on the same page with you?
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks for summing all these things. I wouldn't be able to sum it up after what I was just rambling. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
I take 2 teaspoons of creatine each morning, so that's just coursing through my mind.
Yeah, and I was actually
before I started with this newsletter, and I was like listening to such a huge number of podcasts on 1.5 speed just to listen to as many so I can explain stuff to people in the newsletter. Then I could not really remember what was the podcast about. I would just listen to the full podcast, and at the end of I would not know what I was listening to. So it's a skill. It's something you need to develop to be able
Peter
to.
Kortvel, you built different, man, because I'm listening to my podcast at 1 speed, man.
I even listened to at 2x. 2x was a bit fast.
Yeah, people put on 3x to get through our shit. They're just like, all right, I'll go down back to 1.
You just like,
hey,
they go straight to the end.
So are we marketers or not?
Episode over.
I didn't hear a giveaway in this one. Peter, I got a question for you. This is twice now you're giving me some new thoughts. And I haven't spent enough time with founders to really have a perspective on this, but I think I've been around just enough of them to like get a thread line in the fact that I don't think they always understand their problem well enough. I love Einstein stuff. You guys can see this. Creativity is intelligence having fun. But he also has another one where he says, if you can't explain it plainly, then you didn't understand it well enough. And I find that when you get in these conversations and start talking about the problem, people will go on soliloquies, right? They'll have paragraphs written of the problem. And one of the reasons I love Anthony Perry's framework so much is because it's like it forces you to plainly state these problems before you go build that product, right? And so in your conversations, do you feel like you're seeing that where founders like surface level, squirrel moment, let me go build this thing, but they haven't actually understand the problem so well that they can communicate it plainly to their product teams who need to go then build the product?
Yeah, it doesn't happen all the time. I've talked to founders who can quite well actually explain their solution. So sometimes I'm surprised that they can explain it, which is great. But I also like it's a huge. Often it's an issue that they cannot do that, and I don't even know what to say because for us product marketers, that's something natural to be able to explain stuff simple. I love the quote; it's a great quote. So I think I would go somewhere into the psychology of human brain, why they think this is bigger than it is and why they just cannot say it as it is. Maybe it's the fear of rejection, or maybe it's being overly in love with your product, or maybe it's I don't know what it is. Because and also when if you're really deeply in the science of your technology, then it can be actually somehow hard, but then you just talk to people and see what resonates. So I worked with a good friend on his startup, and he put together three like big boards of his startup of what it is. So we're trying to then put it back into a few post-it notes. So I think it helped him a lot.
One perspective I might be able to offer here, and this is coming from like back my sales days, is that when you first start off with cold calling, you want to say anything that's gonna keep someone on the line. And typically what that entails is just throwing a lot of product talk until someone says that one feature, like, wait, what's that? Oh, thank God you want to stay on the phone with me. It sounds like when you were talking about like the video framework and storytelling framework here, and Eric, when you mentioned Anthony, and also hints at this too, is that think of when we're telling stories, it's like almost mini gates or like mini doorways. Another way of saying that is like from Chris Voss, like Never Split the Difference. You have your soft commitments and you have your hard commitments. So like when you're explaining, like, hey, do you have a problem? Is this a problem for you? It's like, oh yes, it is. And it's like, okay, that gives you more space to either elaborate on why that problem is. Here's what's happening. And then what do you think about this? And it's like, oh, this is what I've been seeing. So it creates more of a dialogue. That's my example from like a selling piece. One area where I've been struggling personally is like, how do I take that and translate it into creating like a landing page or like conveying that? So that's not like an open question. I'm just sharing, like, hey, that's where I'm struggling, but that's where I'm resonating from.
Yeah, it's hard to like. And a sales experience is such a great experience, which I don't have much of it. So it's really great that you have all this knowledge, which I have marketing knowledge, you have this sales knowledge, and it cannot be translated exactly or as exactly as people think sales type of call or chat into the marketing material into a website, especially because you don't have connection with that person, you cannot ask them questions, and it just don't have that time. Because on a sales call, I don't know, like in the example you mentioned, maybe you don't have the booked 30 minutes, but at least there's some expectation that they maybe stay on the line for another second.
You hope
Okay.
if it's a cold call, like you want to get that going. And what do
Okay.
you say? Like you said earlier, what is that single most important thing that I can say to open that door?
Yeah. I think then this kind of sales call is closer to a marketing material, to a website or something, where you're cold calling somebody. You don't know how long they're gonna stay online. So that's exactly what you do with the website. You do with the video. So you start with the key thing. Basically, when the whole PLG started being a big topic, product-led growth, and people start talking a lot about getting to the aha moment. Yeah. So basically, you start using the product, uh, fill it up with data or click through things, and at some point you end up with on that one amazing feature that you say, aha, that's what I need. This is exactly what I need. So I'm saying what I'm saying is the aha moment, you should target aha moment or aha moments every time you talk to somebody, every time you do the marketing, any sort of a material. So the aha moment should be the first thing on the website, on the header. So there technically shouldn't be a reason that people just find out the aha moment after they use the product. It should be in the header, and it should be in the video from the very, very first seconds. Yeah. So when I was interviewing for joining Scandid, I opened up the website, and there was this one video which was just like literally nothing else, just smartphones scanning barcodes. Nothing, no storytelling, nothing, just smartphones scanning barcodes. And I could see straight away, these guys, they do one thing, they scan barcodes, and we do more things, just for the record. We do AR and more stuff. But let's say at the time, really focus on one thing, scanning barcodes, and they are best in the world in doing that because I see how it works. Yeah. So aha moment in 5 seconds. And now if that person needs it, they are in the market, then you're winning them over. If they don't need it, and I think we're getting into something like, if you're cold calling to somebody, you don't know if they're in market, which is something, maybe that's a difference compared to marketing. You want to explain stuff often on the homepage or on the product page as to somebody who's somehow in market, because they probably searched for that website and went there for a reason. Yeah. If not, maybe you have a specific landing page where you just send people who are not interested yet. Yeah. And then that's a different kind of a content. Then you not explain a product to them yet, maybe even.
I think it's well put, and it's like you want to generate those aha moments, and you also want it to be relevant because, like, let's say my product is a mug, right? I can spin it 100 different ways. If I have a startup, I'm like, I want to focus on the solution. It's a mug. It can be a hat. I can drink stuff into it. It can be put on my desk just as a decoration. But if what I want to sell is a mug to drink coffee to get more energy, my problem is lack of energy in the morning. My problem is lack of productivity. So this is how you can circle back with those haha moments, I feel like, because everyone can spin a product 100 different ways and solutions, but then I'm not necessarily looking for a mix of 5 different solutions in one, because it's going to be hard to manage. It's going to be more effort on my end. And if you just lead with a solution, then it's going to be hard to generate initial attraction, right? If Zach is calling me and saying, hey, Gab, I have those 5 tools that you're using. I have it in one. Do you want to use it? I'm like, what can I do with it? What am I looking for? Why have you qualified that I was a good target for that? So again, it's just circling back to the prospection of having targeted lists and making sure you take a look at those buying signals in the first place.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you're outbound cold call, then you call somebody and you have maybe some number of people you need to call. You have some targets, and maybe if you just call somebody, hey, do you drink coffee? No, just hang up and just call another person. But
you just hang up the call. You just say, okay.
Yeah. Like, your boss would be angry at you. What is this guy doing? He's like ruining our database.
More discovery. Like, why do you not like coffee?
It doesn't translate. It doesn't translate to marketing material, because marketing material, you expect that person likes coffee when they come to the website. If they don't, then maybe they still get the message, or they come later when they need to drink coffee. Yeah.
I really like what you said earlier, Peter, about how a homepage is like a visual cold calling. I think that really clicks for me, because like you said, what's the most important point you're saying? And also, knowing to get your most important point, you got to know who it matters to. Coffee mug, just from the streets example, I just love drinking in the morning. I didn't want people to see what I was drinking on a work call. Maybe that's why I would like a coffee mug like that, because I can put in a Coors and be like, oh yeah, I'm having beer, guys. Ooh, just me. I'm not promoting drinking at work in the morning. That might be the most important detail for someone who might imbibe in that.
Here for lunch, you can in France, I think. I think that's normal in France, but not in Switzerland.
Drink beer in the morning?
At lunch.
At lunch. In France.
Sure.
Not in Switzerland. Alcohol-free beer, maybe you can, but why would you do that? It doesn't feel right. Even alcohol-free beer. Why would you do that? No, it's the wrong.
I don't know.
Hey, maybe that's a market opportunity.
Yeah. Morning beers.
Yeah, morning. Morning.
Kegs and eggs.
Kegs and eggs. Hey, I'm like, Peter, don't test us. We might come up with a new startup idea, and it might be in your newsletter of like worst startup ideas.
Let's do that. Let's do the worst startup idea. Yeah. So it's the morning beer, and people don't need it. That's the first point. And now you need to sell it to them. You do door to door. You do door to door. Yeah.
It's not AI generated either.
Yeah.
So door-to-door sales is the distribution. All right, like how are we getting people aware about it? Are we just gonna put it on hungover from the night before? Try morning beer.
Love it.
There's a what's it called? I think it was popular in Germany, but there's a beer made with orange juice. I think Radler.
Oh yeah,
Like this is I
is
love
popular.
drinking this during the summer. It's like 3%. It tastes super good, and you don't feel like you're drinking beer. It's like a mimosa, but a different twist on it.
This is really loved around also in the whole Europe, I think. I don't know. Isn't it something you drink in the US or
yeah.
not really? Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's it. I quite switching to alcohol-free beer a lot because the taste got so much better over the years. I'm gonna drink real beer, of course, and get drunk, but then I feel bad next day. So if I drink alcohol-free beer, I feel always good next day. So
Exactly.
That is true.
so if you drink alcohol beer in the morning, yeah, because you need it, then you're maybe not gonna drink it in the evening, and you feel good next day.
I might have to research that rationale a bit more, but I'm just gonna nod my head and be like, yeah,
Okay.
bars.
Nice.
Peter, we're almost at time. If people want to hear more about you, right, about your newsletter, about what you're posting on LinkedIn and everything, where can they find you if they want to learn more about Peter Kortvel?
Yeah, just Google LinkedIn for my name and just connect with me. Ask me questions. If you want to chat, if you want to meet, just let me know. I'm always here, happy to hear product marketing problems and startup problems and all of that. Make sure to subscribe to Product Marketing newsletter. I'm also looking for some people if they want to be involved in the newsletter, in the co-authoring, co-creation. And yeah, that's it. Just let me know if you want to chat, and I'm more than happy.
This is an amazing offer. I'm sure our listeners will reach you out.
And productmarketingnewsletter.com, correct?
Thank you very much.
Yep, perfect. I just want to make sure that I had it written down. Productmarketingnewsletter.com.
It's in the show notes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the show.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, y'all. Well, this is. Hey, Peter. Again, thank you again for the conversation here, and the time here. But for everyone that's listening, this is another episode of We're Not Marketers, and we are out of here.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to We're Not Marketers. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, review our podcast, and share this episode with other PMMs. Thanks again, and see you soon.